welcome to episode 3 of Bean, the podcast that centers on Kobe Bryant's greatest games. We have one of my personal favorites today, 2009 Western Conference Finals, Game 6, Lakers at Denver. I'm Jeff Frailer, co-host with Brandon Rosenthal. Brandon, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. Jeff, how are you, man?
I'm good. I'm excited to talk about this game. I've watched highlights of it here and there since 2009, but this is the first time watching it beginning to end. But I vividly remember watching this game in 2009, so it's nice to, get the full thing once again.
It was nice seeing games in HD. Well, I mean, it was somewhat
Yeah.
HD. Better quality, that's for sure. It's easier to see some of these players as a game. This is from 2009. It's still 12 years ago.
I know, which is crazy.
It's wild how these times fly. And I see you're decked out in Laker gear. And you got that Kobe 24 on, Laker hat.
Kobe 24 purple jersey.
For the podcast listeners, I have a starting lineup T-shirt. This says Andrew, Derek, Lamar, Powell, and Kobe.
Yeah.
It is worn down because I wear it a lot. But
what's the logo? Is it the Lakers logo on the bottom? Like when you held it up?
Yeah. Lakers logo on the bottom.
When you held it up real quick, I thought it was, for some reason, I thought it was a Cavs logo. I was like, how does that make any sense?
Oh, yeah. No, oh, God. I don't think I'd ever wear it. I mean, I'd probably sell it on the internet just because it'd be such a novelty item. But before we even get started, I just want to mention, please check us out on social media. You can follow us on Beat Podcast, on Instagram, and Twitter. I don't think we have a Facebook. I don't know what we would do with Facebook.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what we do with the other internet. So, but I just want to say that, and you can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and pretty much everywhere you can find podcasts. So sometimes we forget to even mention that, but I just want to mention it. There you go.
Yep. And like Brandon said, that we do have an accompanying YouTube channel and Instagram, and I'll get a little bit better about holding up my end of the social media piece. It's pretty much been Brandon's show so far, but I think one thing we can do is particularly this game, is we can throw up a lot more highlights.
This was a good game for highlights, and it's different. It's completely different than the games that we've done in the past. The previous two games were young Kobe, a lot of athletic plays, and a completely different Laker team.
Right.
Laker Bill, he had a different role. This game was fun to watch. This was really the Kobe that I knew and loved for a very long time, and I think this was the Kobe that a lot of guys built their games off of.
Right. And this is our first championship Kobe, because the other 2 years they did not win a ring. So this is from the 2009 season. Like I said, Western Conference Finals versus Denver. So coming into this Game 6, Lakers are up 3-2. It's been a nail-biter of a series. Lakers had just won a pivotal Game 5 a few nights before. But that was I remember watching that game vividly too. And that one was tied going to the fourth quarter. Lots of great Kobe plays in that one. Lots of Shannon Brown action going on. But just, kind of setting the scene for this particular game. This series was just scary as a Lakers fan. And I, just watching it from Texas, being scared of Denver. Like I said, it was 2-2. They'd kicked the Lakers' butt in Game 4. Lakers barely won Game 1. They had a Trevor Ariza stole the inbounds to steal it. Denver won in LA in Game 2. Game 3 probably should be its own episode. We should circle back to Game 3 on this one. Kobe came 41. Another clutch Ariza steal to steal that one.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he did it twice.
Ariza, man.
Oh man, we're gonna talk. I know this is a Kobe podcast, but we're gonna give Trevor a lot of love this episode.
100%.
Yep. And this series, just Denver was on fire. The whole playoffs, they steamrolled the Hornets in 5 in Game 1. I actually went to Game 3 of that series when I was living in New Orleans. I remember the only.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, the Hornets won, and then they lost by I want to say it was 48 or something in Game 4. I didn't go to that one, but I went to Game 3.
Good God.
Then Denver.
At least it wasn't 50 points, right? I mean,
yeah,
the little wins.
Right. Then Denver came, smacked Dallas around in 5 games in the second round. And then they got to this Western Conference Finals versus the Lakers. The Lakers and Denver had met in the previous playoffs, 2008. This was a completely different Denver team, though. 2008 was Carmelo, Iverson. Lakers steamrolled them, swept them in 4. Wasn't even close.
Yep.
This
Marcus
one had
Camby.
Marcus Camby was there. But this one, Denver does an early season trade for Iverson for Chauncey Billups. Billups comes back to his second stint in Denver, revitalizes the franchise. He was just flat out awesome that year. And, you know, Laker fans had obviously had bad memories of Billups from the 2004 finals in Detroit. So
we don't talk about that.
Yeah, we don't talk about that.
We will have to talk about that at some point, right?
Right. Yeah, but Chauncey came in as a, you know, just a bona fide Lakers killer. I don't know if he freed up Carmelo, you know, mentally pressure wise or what, but he just brought something new, a new swagger to Denver that made them a team to contend with. And touching on that real quick, I did an early Forgotten Lakers episode I did was with Josh Powell. And we discussed this series a little bit, I remember. And he said by far and away, this was their toughest series in the two repeat teams of 2009 and 2010. He put it even ahead of, you know, the 7-game series with Boston in the 2010 finals, just like how much pressure the Lakers were feeling.
They haven't won yet. Yeah.
Yeah. And so just that kind of puts it into context, just how tough this Denver team was.
And they were coming off a finals loss. Like that's a lot. They had a lot of pressure, and Kobe was probably putting more pressure on them in practice. Like, you know, I cannot, this can't be, you know, he was one of those guys where it's like, if we don't win a championship, this is a complete and utter failure. Like there's nothing. And, you know, probably not everybody felt that way, but Kobe made it seem like, you know, you have to feel that way. If you're on my team, you feel that way. That's just the way it is.
Oh yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, as we continue to set the scene, you know, I think personally, if I was thinking about this a lot, this is one of my favorite Kobe Bryant playoff games. Always has been since it happened, and just, you know, reminiscing, especially since his passing. This is one of my favorite Kobe playoff games. I was thinking like a lot of casual Kobe fans, if you ask them for like, you know, maybe their top 3, top 5 Kobe playoff performances, I don't know if they would necessarily pick this one out. But I think like hardcore Kobe fans like you, me, and others, if you ask them for their top 5, this would definitely be in mine. Do you think it'd be in yours?
You know, after watching it, it was just like a complete display of Kobe in like one turnover.
Yeah.
All the moves. He had one dunk. Like it was just all jump shots, pivot moves, all within the offense. Like after watching, I'm glad you did, because I don't think I would have remembered this as one of my top 5 Kobe like either moments or games. There's just so many, like this. Yeah. Especially just because we've been going through them. We have our list of stuff. And I think I probably would remember like Game 5 or the earlier games in the series, just because this game was a blowout essentially, and it was already kind of done, and maybe my mind just would have wiped it out. But this was just. He was so good in this game. It's
good. Yeah,
it was pretty unbelievable. Just where it was, like, I don't want to say it because it looked easy, and it looked like he was just on autopilot.
Oh yeah,
that's what it looked like. But his autopilot is A+. And where everybody's autopilot is like C, you know, like I can drive and listen to music. That's about where I can. That's me. Like, but Kobe's like I can play at all MVP level, and it was fantastic to watch. And you're right. I don't think a lot of Laker fans, to be honest, I think we can just be saying, not a lot of Laker fans would remember this game as a must-watch Kobe performance, just because there's. I mean, I think they talk about the 60-point game, like. All in these Instagram posts, you never see this game, and I'm so glad we brought it up, and hopefully we can bring more awareness to this, because this was a Kobe just masterpiece.
It was all around masterpiece.
I don't know what the game score is on Basketball Reference, and I think I'll pull it up when you're chatting, but this was just man.
Yeah.
Before you get started, I did see some pregame notes. I had just like three interesting things, because on the link you gave us, it was. I got the whole pregame show. I didn't watch the whole pregame show. I mean, I almost did. I was like, let's see, is this a 5-minute pregame show? And it was like Magic Johnson, 45 minutes. I'm like, never mind.
Yeah,
but it was Carmelo's 25th birthday.
Yep.
So that was, I'm sure he had a good time of the night before, or at least he drank away his problems. Magic Johnson, he says he takes his wife to the movies every Friday night.
Yeah.
I don't know if I believe that. the Nuggets really love Birdman. I mean, like he was all over their marketing campaign, like unbelievable. Like we have Birdman. Like the Lakers were 21-11 in closeout games under Phil. That was a stat they had up there. That was pretty cool. And this is the closest the Nuggets have ever gotten.
Yep.
Ever. And it never since.
Yep. You could probably like arguably say this is the biggest game in like Nuggets franchise history.
Wait, did they make the Western Conference Finals last year? Who I can't remember.
Oh yeah,
Never mind.
Yeah.
All right, so but it wasn't 7 games, right? So technically that was because it was 5 games. So I guess technically I was right. Yeah, that was the closest they've ever gotten to an NBA Finals appearance. 2 wins away.
Exactly. And so like go ahead.
Shout out to Stuart Scott. It's good seeing Stuart Scott in the pregame. There's two people that have deceased way before their time.
Yeah, and I was thinking that too.
Stuart was one of my favorite announcers. I think everybody's favorite. The phrases he would say, was it cool in the other side of the pillow?
Right, yeah.
He had so many, and it was pretty awesome seeing him part of this coverage. And that's one of the really cool things that with Kobe, we can see all the Kobe games. We can watch Stuart Scott. Like they live on YouTube, which is really, really awesome for fans and family. I don't know about family, but for I don't know if I really want to watch all that stuff as a family. You have your own personal, but for fans, it's really cool to get that connection. But
no, sure. Yeah. I thought that, too, seeing some Stuart Scott stuff. Obviously the Kobe factor, and then when they show in timeouts, you see Frank Hamblin on the bench, and he's no longer with us as well. So yeah,
at least Frank had a fuller life than the other two, unfortunately.
Yep.
But enough mortality talk.
Yeah. Okay. I think we've touched a little bit on why this game sticks out for us, but I'll add a couple other things. I mean, just the importance of a chance to get back to the finals after the 2008 loss to the Celtics. There was still very much the real possibility of a Kobe LeBron finals, and this halfway secured it. I mean, so Cleveland was still battling Orlando in the Eastern Conference Finals. I know obviously Orlando eventually pulled it out, but that was something that most fans were clamoring for. I remember hoping for Orlando, and they touched on this during the game as well. That just mainly because the Lakers would have home court versus Orlando, but Cleveland would have had home court if they had won that series. And but at the same time, Kobe LeBron would have been pretty cool, and slightly kind of scary just because LeBron was just unbelievable. I mean, he's still, obviously we're Laker fans. He's still balling out for us when he's healthy. But that would have been really cool to see.
Yeah, that would have been really cool. I actually have a trivia question about LeBron because they threw up some stats on the broadcast. So later on, a little tease for that. But yeah, this was the closest they ever got to playing in the finals. So I actually thought that they were going to do it because that Cleveland team, I didn't think the Orlando team I didn't think they'd beat them, and they did. And to be honest, it took that LeBron like game 2 or miracle shot over Turkey glue. And it was, I was surprised that Orlando made it this far. But yeah, that was close if we ever got to a LeBron finals.
Yeah.
Kobe LeBron finals at least.
Right. I think, like I said, I hadn't watched this game for since it happened in 2009, but I was amazed, like simultaneously how randomly specific plays I did remember, and then other ones that I didn't remember at all. I remembered like Pau and Odom having huge games. Another thing that stuck out was just the Luke Walton factor in this game was huge, because I think a lot of people would think maybe remember his last couple of years in LA where he didn't really get off the bench that much, but there was about like a 3 or 4 year stretch where he was either a starter or a strong rotation player. This was probably the last season where he was getting significant minutes, but he was great this game, and it was cool to kind of have a Luke Walton moment again in our lives as a player, and not as a mediocre,
and not as a confused coach on the sidelines.
Yes, right.
It was nice to see Luke playing really well in this game, which was pardon me. It was nice. He was all over the place. It was crazy. And jump shots, slam dunks. Man, okay, coach.
Right. Okay, so now we're going to get into our memorable plays. Do you want to go first for any first quarter memorable plays?
So because the trio of this game was Mark Jackson, Mike Breen, and Van Gundy, I decided to keep a running Mark Jackson, mama, there goes that man count. 0 in the first quarter, unfortunately.
Okay.
Actually, there's a lot of zeros for that category, which is, I mean, unfortunate. But I was, you never know with Mark.
Yeah.
But Kobe was really chill in this first quarter.
Yep.
For the first, like, especially the first half of it. And that's what I'm saying. It was just all offense. Like, he was just like, all right, Phil, whatever you're running. And he like really wanted to get it to Gasol, get it to the post players, just go within the triangle. I really felt that Kobe watched a lot of, not feel, but we know that Kobe watched a lot of film. So he clearly knew that the triangle, that whatever they practiced was going to beat Denver. Their size was too big for Denver. So they went to Gasol early. He had the first points of the game. Kobe was being booed an early double team. So he was just a willing passer.
Yeah.
And one thing I did notice is that the Denver fans were standing until the Nuggets scored. Melo finally hit a free throw with 9 minutes and 1 second left. About 3 minutes game-wise. They're probably about 5 to 10 minutes potentially. The fans were all standing. Van Gundy said that it actually should take a bucket for the fans to sit. And I agree.
That was funny, yeah.
That's bullshit, dude. Like, no, they got a free throw, like 1 point. Like, no, you should at least, you have to sit down when there's 2 points on the, but
right.
They have little dumb things that fans do. Like, we think that like that works. Like, it's wild. But yeah, I miss fans being there, man.
I know, yeah, that was cool.
I think we're gonna get them back at some point very soon. But yeah, that was the booze. Like, you forget, like, in the bubble experience is so unique, but this is the crowd can have a huge influence on the game.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I think they disliked Kobe before, like, any Colorado stuff.
Oh, well,
yeah. And so even though we're there, like, now 5 years removed from that in 2009. It was still very much like probably a big reasoning behind all the boos, because he got it bad in Denver every time he played, like almost the rest of his career, and that was a big reason why.
There's one more play that I really noticed. Actually, I have two. At 7:17 left, Kobe got fouled, but he showed off some major jets on this breakaway. I don't think I've seen him take off that fast in a very long time. Kobe was not known for his speed, up and down the floor. He was an athletic player. We never thought of him as the fastest guy in the league. But that particular play, I was like, whoa, like, man, you forget, like, Kobe, like, man, like, everything was, and this game was so control and pace. Like, it was, for him to break out of it was like, man, that was cool to see. And then Bynum had a hard foul on Kenyon Martin with 5:22 left. And I wanted to ask you, do you think that would be a flagrant today?
No. So I remember them talking about Bynum's first 2 fouls. I think they were talking about how he had to take 2 hard playoff fouls. But I'd have to go back and look at it again to see exactly.
So this one is Kenyon Martin is coming up, and Bynum literally just turns over and then 2-hand like wallops his arms hard. But with Bynum, he's all about his piss poor body language. That is Bynum to a T, right? So he fouls and he like looks at either Gasol, like what the hell, man? Like, you just come into the lane. And so I think it would have been a flagrant just because of the way the league is officiated. It's just such a different league now. But it just, Kobe was in total control of the game, in my opinion. And it just was wild to me. And I wrote a note here, how crucial J.R. Smith is on teams that he's on.
Oh yeah.
Like, he was never the guy, but no matter what, in like a playoff game or a big game, they're always like, J.R. Smith needs to get going. Like, he's always a huge part of every team he's on, and it's just crazy to me.
Right.
He's also it just shows that he's a talented player.
Oh sure. Okay, so for some other memorable plays.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, and so we're in the first quarter. Not all Kobe. Ariza had a huge first quarter. He was 4 for 5, 2 threes, very athletic reverse dunk in traffic.
Oh, that one was really nice.
Yeah, that was good.
That one was really nice.
Yeah, athletic Trevor, babyface Trevor. I hadn't seen him, like, that was 12 years ago. So now he's just recently got on to Miami. But
now he's on Miami. He's had a kid. He has baby mama drama. He's got stress in his face always,
Yeah, it's a babyface Trevor. Okay, at 2:35, Kobe blows right by J.R. Smith. he looks like he's about to dunk, but he ends up doing this
Yeah,
like it was like a half
the Penny Hardaway,
roll.
like the mid-90s Penny Hardaway kind of layup.
Yeah, it was a finger roll, like a half finger roll, also kind of just like put his hand above the basket, like dropped it in. I don't even know what you want to call it. He made it look so easy. It was just and I don't know why it looked like it probably was harder to do that than to dunk, but it looked really cool. We'll put it up, and the commenters commented on it that 5 years ago he would have dunked it. I think he easily could have, but for whatever reason he put a little style on this one, and it was pretty. It was pretty.
Yeah, because he had a nice dunk when the lane opened up later in the game. So
yeah,
it wasn't like this was like 30 years old Kobe. They're talking.
Yeah,
this is still prime, very very prime Kobe, and we didn't start seeing the demise of his body until like 4 years later.
Right.
Yeah, that was a nice play. I thought he was going to mash it home.
Yeah, for sure. The second quarter, we have a couple memorable plays from J.R. Smith. He had a crossover on Sasha, and it kind of finishes this really crafty floater over both Pau and Odom. And then very next play, he hits a beautiful fadeaway over Jordan Farmer that really got the crowd going. And I think at that point, it gave Denver a lead, which surprised, because I had in my head, I had the Lakers like dominating this game from start to finish, which basically, I mean, they basically just dominated the last half of the second quarter, the rest of the game for the most part. But Denver was up like midway through the second quarter, and I just didn't remember that at all. I really would have, in my head, I just had it from like Lakers wire to wire.
Yeah, and that was something that, and again, in the second quarter, 0 Mark Jackson, mama, there goes that man count. So unfortunately, we didn't get one this one, but we do get one later on. So just stay tuned. We do get one.
Okay.
The Lakers bench mob starts the second quarter. It's Walton, Sasha, Farmar, Lamar, and Pau, which is one of my favorite lineups. And you can even take Shannon Brown instead of Pau. That would just be, especially at home, that lineup would have a lot of fun. On the road, it definitely struggled a little bit. 8:41, the Nuggets' first lead of the game, thanks to J.R. Smith, like you mentioned. 8 in the second quarter, 13 in the first half, and that he didn't score after that point. Knicks, I don't know why I said the Knicks. I think I saw Phil, and Phil went to the Knicks. Lakers timeout. Kobe came right back in. Sasha was out. Phil was like, nope, see you later, Sasha. Yeah. He did hit a corner three.
He did hit a corner three, yeah.
He's like, no, you're getting burned too much. And, Sasha was, he was aggressive on the perimeter, but you can easily get by him. And, and that's, but then right after that, I have another note I have in here is 5:56 left. And because this game kind of went like, I was a little hodgy-podgy there, just, 2-point game, 3-point game for a while, for about 2-3 minute stretch. Lakers timeout. Lakers have 9 turnovers, and Phil looks so pissed off when they, right, it's timeout. They like zoom on him, and he's just like, I took a screenshot of this, so we'll. Oh, it's so great. I maybe I'll throw it on the video when I throw it on YouTube in this little segment. It's so good. It's classic pissed off Phil Jackson. What do you have anything else at this point? Because I know there's some Kobe plays later on the second quarter, which he's just pops.
Let's see. So for second quarter, so I was just talking about how they were down by 1 midway through second quarter.
Yeah.
And Kobe, we touched on this earlier. He's just making the right play time after time, finding guys for wide open shots. I know they all didn't go in, but there was a sequence where he took doubles. He found Walton. They got goaltended. He hit Farmar. He missed a wide open 3. I think he got it to Ariza, who scored. It was almost like he was playing, so patiently, like on autopilot, just making the correct reads. And it was almost frustrating because as great as he was, as much as we love him, there are definitely times where he did not do that and he forced the issue, sometimes to the Lakers' detriment. So it's like, okay, he knows, kind of the correct way to play, but sometimes, especially if he's not being double teamed, he's going to force the issue. And so it just, and I love Kobe more than anybody, but I'll be the first to admit it, that he oftentimes did not play like it's probably he should have.
It is quite. It's probably one of the most curious things in NBA history of the curious mind of Kobe Bean Bryant.
Yeah.
What makes him buy in?
Yeah.
And like when he's bought into the system, into the team, there's not many players better. There's really not, like in the NBA history. And that's, and the same with LeBron, like when they're all like locked in, Jordan, Magic, like they are, but those guys, I mean, maybe Jordan and Kobe are just like so cut from the same cloth, because I feel just from hearing everything, right, and reading Jordan was very similar,
Mm-hmm.
and that, but he just wasn't so openly brazen about ignoring what the coach said.
Yeah.
that Kobe was. But then again, Michael Jordan never had a book written about him, calling him a huge piece of shit. So, you know, hey,
Right. Yeah, okay.
it is what it is. Late in the second quarter, dude, Kobe was just on fire though. And like I have with the 127, and you might have a couple plays before this, but with the 127 left, I wrote Kobe quick pull. He's feeling it. And
Yeah.
there was times when you knew Kobe was feeling it. And it's like when he was like a dribble pop or like, because he can do the post game all day, but that was a very controlled half court pace for Kobe. This was just quick pulls, corner buckets.
Yeah.
And I wrote Kobe's on fire. Like he finished this quarter on fire. And pretty much pushed that lead back to 9-10, and then eventually to double digits, what it was at halftime. But he was he took over that second quarter when he came in the game. And Phil Jackson knew that. He's like, you guard J.R. Smith. And J.R. Smith didn't score the rest of the second quarter. And Kobe also, like, not many players could do that, right? Come in, I'm going to lock you down, and I'm also going to light you up.
Yeah, right. He ended up the last half of the quarter, I think, going 4 for 5. You touched on a couple of those shots, like the quick pulls, the one from the corner. Those were two like semi-questionable shots, but he made them both.
That's just classic Kobe, though. Like, but and then he had a quote at halftime. He's like, "If a guy has his hand down, I'm gonna shoot it." Like, and I guess Kobe's hand down is like, if it's below my shoulder, I'm shooting that. Like, you guarantee it. Well, because like there are, when you get to this level of athlete, you even like, I don't know if you're a football fan, you know that open in the NFL is different than open in college and open in high school, and the window of being open is so small. And the same thing with basketball, when a guy's on you. When you practice those shots every day, a hand in your face, that's why Battier, when Battier put his hand in, he's like, whatever, dude. Like, I know where the rim is. Like, that doesn't affect my shot. And so that's where Kobe was above and beyond better than anybody else. Like mental strength, mental stamina, like doesn't matter whose hand, but like, that's just Kobe. That was a quote. If a guy's hands down, I'm going to shoot it. You could even said, if a guy's hands up, I'm going to shoot it. If there's 2 hands, I'm going to shoot it. 4 hands, it doesn't matter.
Right.
He was feeling it. He finished the quarter at the half, 18 points, 6 of 10 shooting, 6 assists, 5 of 5 free throws, plus 19.
Yep, for sure. Brilliant first half.
And 1 turnover. Didn't have a turnover the second half either.
Yeah.
It was just, it's so clean, Jeff. This was.
I know, yes. And it's too easy. Like, it's just like, okay, something's maybe, I don't know, partly Denver slightly laid an egg, but Kobe just took advantage of it. But that second quarter kind of gets me to, at least in my opinion, one of our, and we have more memorable plays, but since we're on the second quarter, my first like most rewatchable sequence.
Perfect.
Yeah. So we have, I think it was the second Kobe difficult jumper, the one from the corner, Denver turnover, Pau dunks off a great pass by Fisher, Odom fouls Billups for 2 free throws, and then it kind of gets us to the last Kobe sequence where he missed a drive. He drove. He was looking for a foul call. Ball kind of just gets loose. Powell picks it up, finds Kobe in the corner for a 3 that gives Denver one last possession. Carmelo drives. Kobe blocks it at the halftime buzzer with his left hand, blocks a Carmelo layup, and it was just a great play to kind of seal that the Lakers would close at half with momentum. And I was thinking, so many of Kobe's greatest blocks, at least some of my favorites, are with his left hand.
Yep.
So there's this one. There's one, I think maybe we talked about this on another episode. Maybe I just think about this too much, and I think we talked about it on another episode. But he had this one with his left hand.
I think Deron Williams one with his left hand too.
Deron Williams with his left. He got Ray Allen with the left. I think he got Yao with the left once.
I think he got Bonzi Wells with the right, the one where you like popped it down.
Oh yeah,
I think, and maybe this is just a mental thing. He probably just like feels like I can reach longer with my left.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just when you jump, it's just natural. Your hand's already going up there. I don't know. When I grab rebounds, I grab them with my left hand more. So I don't know. It's an interesting thought. But yeah, he definitely blocked more shots with his left hand. And the Lakers allowed 20 points each quarter. So they were up 53-40 at halftime, 20 points at the first for Denver, 20 points at the second for Denver, just clamping down. They looked so big in this game compared to Denver. Watching this game, I was like, how did they not sweep this team?
Yeah.
Like, you know, and granted, Billups was terrible. Melo, I'll mention later, was completely just a no-show, like, mentally. Like, he had points and shots, but just didn't really. That was a complete no-show. But should we move on to the third?
Yep.
Because this was probably I got one thing in the third. Oh, I got a lot of things in the third quarter, but 11:03, probably the least rewatchable sequence. Kobe airballs a three-pointer.
Wide open three.
Looks at his hand, blames his wet hand. We've all been there, you know, like just like this ball, dude. Like what? Like wipe it down. It was, but then I think he like right away then like hit a free throw, or like I think there was a technical and he hit a free throw right after that. So like he just, you know, you just move on. You have to like just smile and be like, hey, whatever. Let's just get this win, get the hell out of here. And then I wrote with 10:22 a Bynum dunk, and I was like, "There's not many dunks for the Lakers in this game. There were a few from the big men, but not many dunks." Denver had a few more, but a lot of perimeter attempts. The Lakers are big inside. You're not going to get a lot of buckets on them inside.
Yeah, that's a good point. I remember that Bynum dunk off a great pass by Powell. And so, yes, Bynum was back for this playoff run. He had missed all of 2008 with an injury, but he wasn't, I mean, he was here during the playoffs, but he wasn't his full self. He had missed a lot of this year with injury. I remember he barely played in the Utah series this playoff, and then he was kind of in and out of the lineup, even versus Orlando, and you would think he'd be a big Dwight factor. But he was just rusty. He never had – he was good. He was, I mean, tall, strong, good fouls, some rebounds, but he wasn't healthy enough to be the Bynum we would have like the next few years during this particular season.
Oh yeah, now this was like, he was still the starter, but the Lakers' best lineup was still when Lamar was at the 4 and Powell was at the 5.
One memorable play I have in this Kobe a memorable Kobe play for this third quarter. I didn't write down the time, but he drove on Billups. He got double teamed by Billups and Nene, got fouled and banked in like a 12-footer. It's a really cool and one. One other note I had on the Denver side for this third quarter was Kenyon Martin was really strong this quarter. And the announcers talked about, I think it was Van Gundy in particular, talking about he's the only one bringing energy. And I think he had some great dunks, offensive rebounds on the other end as well. And it reminded me, he did something similar in Game 4 of the 2002 NBA Finals when he was on the Nets, where he came out and just went bonkers trying to give the Nets some life. I think he ended the game with like 35, which was like a playoff career high for him at that point. And so he was just a guy who, like, you know, could get the crowd going, whether it was crazy blocks, dunks in traffic, hustle plays, even though kind of played dirty sometimes. But this game, he came out at halftime as basically the only Denver Nugget still giving a damn.
Yeah, he was like, Kenyon Martin is like if a Morris brother had hops. You know, like, because he was one of my favorite players in college in Cincinnati when he was balling, and then I think he broke his hand or leg. I can't remember.
I think he broke his leg in college.
I think it was his leg, and then he was still the number 1 pick, and you know, he was just probably a product of, he was never a true number 1 pick, right? He didn't have that talent to be like, hey, give it to Kenyon and he'll carry us. But he had all energy and mad hops. He can play defense. And like he could give you life for a half, or in which he did. He definitely in the fourth quarter too. But this, and I have a few things that I wanted to mention before this, including a ridiculous Van Gundy at 9:29 left. Van Gundy makes a Hannah Montana reference.
Yes, I saw that.
Completely ridiculous. Van Gundy is so weird, dude. But, and I wrote with 8:23 left, Powell is feeling it. Martin can't guard him, and Kobe's looking to the post a lot in the third. And then you said Denver crawled to within 9 after that Kenyon Martin jumper at 7:37 left. That nice and one you mentioned was Kobe was at 5:03 left. And Kobe had his 8th assist to Luke in this game. You know, like he's just clearly just moving it up. And that free throw put the Lakers up 71-55. So they were, after Martin put it to 9, Kobe kind of pushed it back out to 71-55. And then Luke hit like back-to-back jumpers. And the Lakers were up 22 minutes later. And it's like, all right, well, and then like, and I wrote, and J.R. Smith hit back-to-back buckets. The Lakers were up 15 now. And that was pretty much how it ended. At least there weren't a really, like and zero mama, there goes that man counts, unfortunately.
Okay.
Still, man, like, so I guess you already know it's in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
So the teases are kind of running out of room here. But
right.
yeah, it was and there's one thing I wrote, 28.2 seconds left, the crowd chants bullshit. I miss that stuff. And I definitely miss like the Twitter coordination of what the crowds will chant. Like
yeah. That was fun.
That was fun. But the Lakers ripped it open in this quarter and put their foot down. But Denver truly like didn't go away. They had their moments, they had their runs, but like in my notes, nothing from Billups and nothing from Melo, and like nothing. I mean, like there's nothing of even some consequence. They didn't do anything in this game. Like, zero impact to me rewatching this game. Like you said, I mentioned Kenyon Martin, J.R. Smith, and those are the guys in Denver that were doing stuff. Those are the guys in Denver that were trying. And, you know, looking back, seeing like Lennis Klaysia, look how terrible he looks in this game. It's like, I can't believe these guys like whooped us so many times.
I know.
Klaysia had like career highs against
I remember
the Lakers.
those games.
Even when he was on Toronto, we're like, is this like a cheat code?
Yeah.
You know, we just couldn't. He just ripped us up, but not this game.
Yep.
Definitely not this game. Yeah, the Lakers finished the quarter up 83-67. So Denver actually scored 27 points this quarter. So congratulations to them. But they're still, they allowed a lot more. Do you have any more notes about the third?
Yeah, I was going to say, so we were talking about when they got it to 20. So 2:45 left. Kobe hit a really tough jumper over Billups, give him that 20-point lead. It just left Mike Breen chuckling because it was just like a, typical Kobe tough shot, rattled home. So you get the sense it's going to turn into a rout, and you touched on this a little bit in the blink of an eye. I think J.R. Smith hit a couple shots. Denver scores 8 straight to cut it to 12. They had the ball back to a chance to cut it to single digits. They end up committing 3 straight fouls. One was an offensive foul by Birdman, and then they had 2 back-to-back defensive fouls that sent the Lakers to the line both times. So the Nuggets had a chance to cut it to 10, maybe 9 points. All of a sudden they have an offensive foul, 2 other fouls. It's back up to 16. So I think if, Denver had cut it to 9, if they cut it anywhere between 6 to 10 points going into this fourth quarter, I think fans would have been a nervous wreck because they just easily trimmed off a 20-point lead down to, anywhere 6, 8, 10, whatever the case may be. But they had a couple bonehead defensive plays. The Lakers capitalized at the line, and it was back up to 16 instead of being like a 6 or 8 point game. So that was huge.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things we always tell yourselves as fans. You start doing that math in your head.
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, if we can get it to 10, if we can get it to this, some arbitrary number, we tell ourselves, whatever, just, we're happy. But truth be told, you can only come back from so much.
Yeah.
Like, and we've seen that where teams push back, force overtime, then they have nothing left in the tank. So, yeah, you can come back down from 21. You can come back down from 25. But it takes a lot, and it happens so rare that it's, it's a miracle when you do. So if you can cut it to 10, that is much more doable. A couple of threes, and then teams, they can feel the pressure when they're up 6 with 6 minutes left. Like those leads are not that much. So like 16 and 10 and 18, those are mentally they can do a lot of damage to a player's psyche, I imagine.
Yeah, for sure. And I think obviously I know the outcome of this game. I didn't specifically remember Denver's little run there. But I think what just shocked me was, okay, it's a 20-point lead, and I blinked, and it's 12, and Denver has the ball. I'm like, what the hell just happened? They're going to cut this to 9.
JR is like, he's one of he kept them alive. But then in you get to the fourth?
Yeah, go ahead.
Lamar went on a 5-0 run and pushed it to 21, and it's like, because of that, right? You go into the quarter 16 up, and then all of a sudden you go on a 5-0 run, and it's 21, and it's over.
Yeah.
But then it's like, and then you're or now you have to come back from 20 down instead of now and that was huge. The bench was crazy. They went crazy for this when Lamar hit that 3. Yeah, because he doesn't shoot a lot of threes, and he wasn't the best 3-point shooter.
Exactly.
And so that was
a timely one, and I wrote that 3 down as well. And Jeff Van Gundy had a funny comment after that game, after that 3. He said, when it's time to put the kids to bed, you have to turn off the TV. And Lamar Odom just turned off the TV. And so,
it's just funny that I turned off the TV the other day for my son, and he was just like crying because my wife was like, "You didn't tell him you were turning it off." I was like, "Oh, my bad." He's 18 months. Yeah, but no, it's a good point. Like at some point, you got to be like, "Time to go upstairs. Let's go." Shut up, boom, and Lamar was like, "Remote, click."
Exactly.
And then 30 seconds later, a Luke Walton dunk. And if there's no better way to end your season, it's Luke Walton. It's white boy Luke Walton slamming it home.
Yeah, and it was like semi on Carmelo. I think they talked about that in the broadcast. Like someone said Lamar Odom was like I'm sorry, that Melo was kind of halfway out of the picture. But I think it was Jeff Van Gundy. He was like, if I'm Luke Walton, I'm telling my grandkids I slammed it on Melo or something.
I wrote where the hell has Melo been? That's what I wrote in my notes in this fourth quarter. And 8-11, he finally scores. And then 11 seconds later, Kobe has that massive tomahawk slam. And that was the picture I sent you before the broadcast. We'll throw it up on our socials. And I feel like the fourth quarter, I could have, because I was watching it on YouTube, I could have turned the speed to 3 times. Like this game was so over. Like this game was so over at this point. And then I wrote, because Denver kind of like made a semi run, got it back to 16, and then Kobe, we get it. We finally get it.
Yeah.
6:13 left. Kobe switches a 3. Lakers back up 19.
That was over. Then
we get a hand down, man down. Yeah. And we get a Mamba, there goes that man. Oh man. what a blessing.
You could I wrote that 6:13 3 down as well. That, for all intents and purposes ended this game.
That was it.
Like feel the souls of Denver's fans like leave after that 3. It was the sound, the body language, I wouldn't be surprised if some of them were headed to the exits after that 3. Like that was.
Oh yeah, that was and living in Los Angeles, we're notoriously known for leaving games early because we also have bad traffic. But I think that sent fans leaving, and I loved how Phil kept Kobe and Pau in. Going for the kill. Like no, there is no resting. Our job is to win this game, and you will not sit on the bench until we know we've won it. And Kobe finally sat with like a minute, like 30 left or something like that. And that's how that, it's just not like, and I'm glad they were like, no, we're playing this game. 17 points, let's get it 25. That's not enough. You got to put your foot on the throat because, like you mentioned, Denver always they had opportunities in this game for sure to come back, and this easily could have been a much closer game. It didn't have to be the blowout that it was, and it was a great move by Phil to keep him in the game and keep that foot on their throat.
Right. Speaking of keeping their foot on the throat, just for like fun, Ariza hit a little bit of a dagger with 3:19 left. This jumper, like we talked a little bit about Ariza earlier. He was just so massive, not just this game, but this whole playoff run. It kind of bummed me out watching this game, even though how great he was playing. Just so this game was May 29th, 2009. The Lakers won the title June 14th in another series he plays absolutely fantastic in. 2 weeks later, July 2nd, he's a Houston Rocket. And it's just freaking, and I know it's like the business side of basketball. There was a whole thing where he turned down their initial offer, so the Lakers didn't even blink. They're just like, fine, we're going to give it to run our test. And that's how like the whole thing supposedly happened. Like Ariza turned it down. They didn't even come back to him with something else. They're like, this is what we're going to spend. They offer the exact same contract to run our test. He takes it. And Ariza's gone. And, he's bounced around. He played, he was on Houston forever. He was on Houston, went to New Orleans, Washington, back to Houston. Now he's been like Phoenix, Sacramento, I think back to Washington at some point. Now he's on Miami, Portland last year too. So he's been in and around everywhere and has always played great. There's, a couple times there've been rumors like, oh, the Lakers are like going to go after Ariza. And I've always hoped it happens, but it's just, just that whole thing, like they win the title June 14th. He's a Houston Rocket July 2nd, has always bummed me out. Just, he was so crucial this series. And it was fun watching him ball out this game 6.
And I know that because we won the title with our test that it doesn't seem like a big deal, but it was. Ariza would have been a much better presence for the team than Artest.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. And I'm glad Ron won because that helped him move forward in his life. clearly the championship was more, the Lakers' experience was more important to the future of Meta World Peace than the future of Ariza, because Ariza's been able to play in the league, and this got Ron Artest to play with Kobe, and that clearly had a huge influence on his life. Yeah. But I wish that Ariza didn't turn that down, or that we weren't so douchey about it as an organization, because he was a great fit, and he was young, and he was athletic. We could have grew him, and then we don't need to, we don't need to probably make trades potentially. Makes Lamar a lot more expendable. I don't know. And I was going to say this for a trivia question, but I'm not gonna. I'm going to talk about it right now. On the broadcast, Van Gundy was talking about the Lakers are going to have to make a choice between Ariza and Artest. Ariza and Odom. Yeah. And he thinks the Lakers would choose Ariza. Yeah. But and the Lakers eventually chose Odom to trade him away. Yeah. And even though we lost Ariza, had Artest, the Lakers still found a way within the rules to succeed, and then the NBA was like, nah.
Oh, you mean with Chris Paul?
With Chris Paul, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of directly from what you're talking about, right? We lost that, and then we won the championship, but then the next year it was like, no, and if we had a reason, maybe we don't falter that much, because we don't have to drop off from Ron Artest. Ariza can continue to build his game, be that stretch 3 or 4, whatever. We can go small, play Ariza at the 4, bring in another. I don't know. It's an unanswered question that we'll never get, unfortunately.
Yeah. I know it's still obviously we're so far removed from it now. I don't think about them this much, but just this game and how quickly it happened. He's to toast to Los Angeles to like that playoff run. Everyone's in love with Trevor Ariza, and then bam, he's gone.
He was huge. He was huge for us, and I'm glad we got the title with him in 2009. But I definitely miss what could have been potentially,
For sure.
And I got Kobe stats. I wrote Kobe stats in this fourth quarter. In the game, he played 41 minutes, 35 points, 12 of 20, didn't miss a free throw.
The Lakers didn't miss a free throw as a team. They're like 24-24 or something.
That's what happens when you don't have Shaq.
Yeah, right.
Helps a lot. You win less titles, but you definitely make more free throws.
Yeah.
Kobe in the second half, 21 minutes out of the 24 total, 17 points, 6 of 10 field goals, 4 assists, 3 boards. He was just no turnovers in that second half either. So just complete control.
Yep.
Dominant. It was a prime time performance by the Lakers and by Kobe.
For sure. Yeah. And you touched on in the beginning, like a autopilot dominant performance. It was just, it's funny. There was it brought back, it's just, maybe it's a coincidence that it's also Denver, but 3 years later, 2012 first round, they have a 7-game series with Denver. And in game 7 of that game, he didn't score as much, but he was just setting up everybody that game, just picking Denver apart. Just standing still and picking them apart. I think he set up Steve Blake for 4 threes. I think Artest hit 4 threes that game. And then
yeah. I was at that game actually.
Oh, game 7. Oh man.
Yeah, I was at that game.
Yeah, Steve Blake was balling that game.
Steve Blake.
Yeah. And it was just brought back, kind of mirror images of each other. He didn't score as much in that second one, but just picking Denver apart with his passing.
Yeah, the later in the series it gets, the more film Kobe gets to watch, and the more he can just. It's very Belichick-like, right? You give him enough time where he could just pick you apart. That's why he had that show on ESPN, Detail, because he has an eye for film. Watching film is an art. It's not just like, all right, let's watch this game, I guess. No, you can learn things and hone your game and learn things about your opponent. And he did that better than, a lot of people in the history of this game.
Right.
Do you have was that the most rewatchable play for you in the second quarter?
Yes, and then I think so that one with how Kobe ended it. I think I had another one.
I think because I unfortunately, as I watched the game and I forgot, I was like, I think there's one in the fourth, but I can't remember.
Yeah, I thought I had another one.
Let's just call it the Luke Walton dunk.
Yes, here it is. That it includes the Luke Walton dunk. So it's Odom's 5 quick points to start the quarter.
Oh, perfect.
Sandwiched around Nene layup, and then followed it up with the Luke Walton dunk.
Perfect. Anytime we can get a person with one name, Nene, even though I knew he was Nene Hilario, but
Nene, right.
We'll call him Nene. That's what he wants to be called. And it's crazy. Like, and these guys are still playing. A lot of them. Melo. Shout out to Anthony Carter, not playing anymore.
Yeah, not playing.
But Phillips is retired, but Nene's still around. Lamar is not around, but he almost died. But he's still, trying to make a comeback.
Yeah, right.
Powell technically retired. I guess he just did retire, but
he just signed with
Barcelona.
Yeah,
Barcelona. He retired from the NBA at least.
Yeah,
maybe he'll come back for the Lakers with like a one-day contract.
You know what's crazy about that? So if I was waiting to see what was going to happen with Powell, I was still waiting to see if anything's going to happen with Jamal Crawford or Tyson Chandler. But if so Powell's probably out. But if Jamal Crawford or Tyson Chandler don't play a game this year, there's literally no one in the NBA anymore who played a game against Michael Jordan. They were the last three. And so so Tyson Chandler and Jamal played last year. And there's not one. They're all gone. That's crazy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's wild.
And
Jordan had to come back to get those extra years.
Yeah, exactly. So they played against him as a Wizard.
Because the Bulls, everybody from the Bulls are probably gone, right? There's nobody in the 90s that is even. Yeah, it is creeping up. We're definitely old, getting old. So I got some trivia for you. I have one.
Yeah, I got some for you as well.
Oh, nice. All right, let's go. I usually go first. Why don't you ask your questions first and see how? Let's give it a little flip it a flop.
So Jordan Farmer didn't play a lot in this game. Played a little bit. But it was funny seeing him as number 5 because he changed his number the next year. What number did he change to? That
was number 1.
Oh, nice. Clutch.
I definitely know the Farmar stuff. Farmar was born in the Valley where I grew up. He went to high school. I played against him a couple of times, not a lot.
In high school?
And it was never in high school because we're a far apart age difference, but just in like playing with buddies that I knew. And he grew up in Taft, which is like 20 minutes away from me. So I definitely followed his career closely, being from the same town and city and stuff. So, and he's also like a white Jew, so I'm just like, man, this is like me, but way better than me.
Okay. Denver had one future Laker play in this game.
Good. That's a great question.
Yeah. And he played fairly well.
I'm going to go through all this. Oh, J.R. Smith.
Yeah, exactly. It's just because everybody forgets about his little Lakers stint.
Oh, yeah. I was like, I was like, oh, yeah, J.R. I was like, was it J.R.?
Yeah, it was J.R. Okay. The announcer.
Yeah, he was like the Laker in like the least Laker way. Like, let me just sign as a replacement for the bubble.
You're right. So the announcers like Jeff Van Gundy, Mark Jackson give Shannon Brown some love towards the end of the game, talk about his impact on the Lakers. He was traded that season, like halfway through the year. Do you remember he traded to the Lakers? Do you remember who he was traded for?
Traded for? Oh, man. Was he traded from Cleveland?
He was traded from Charlotte.
From Charlotte.
Yeah, he had previously been on Cleveland before.
Okay. So traded from Charlotte. Morrison?
He was traded with Morrison for somebody.
Oh, so
yeah.
No, I can't remember.
Radmanovich.
Oh, the Space Cadet.
The Space Cadet, yeah.
Oh yeah, we shipped his ass out to the Bobcats.
Yeah,
this was still the Bobcats, right?
Yeah. They were still the Bobcats, yeah.
That's right. I do remember a very small stint in his career. Like, rad man. What a wild dude.
Okay, you got your questions?
Yeah. All right. So, J.R. Smith, how old was he in this game?
Oh, so his rookie year, I think was it 04-05? 23?
24, yeah.
Okay.
Really close. He was born in 85. So
yeah, okay.
So this is a tough one. I don't expect you to get this. Okay. But what was LeBron averaging in the East Finals through 5 games? They showed it on the broadcast.
They showed it, yes.
They showed it. I wrote it down because it was such an astronomical number that I was like, okay, I have to ask Jeff about this.
It was like 40 or 41 or something like that.
41 a game, 8 rebounds, 8 assists.
Yeah.
And people are still like, nah, he's not good.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
They're like, nah, he's not good.
Yeah.
All right. Which Lakers did not play? You mentioned one earlier.
Oh, okay. Josh Powell.
Yeah. your
I
boy.
remember he was on the bench like hyping everybody up. They showed both Morrison and Soon Yue, but they were like in street clothes.
Yeah, they weren't even dressed. But there's one guy, and this guy is a beloved bench player.
Oh, Benga.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody loves Benga.
Yeah.
I love Benga, dude. That guy was so dope. Like,
yeah,
that's a guy who just knew his role, wanted to have fun, and came in, hard fouls, slam dunks. Okay, we got to mention this earlier, but when was Kobe's sole turnover? What quarter?
I know it's in the first half. I'm just gonna guess second.
Second quarter, you're right.
Okay.
Ding, ding, ding.
50%.
And then what shoes was Kobe wearing?
And you ask this every time, and
that's right. At this point, he has now had his Kobe brand. So you don't get credit for saying Nikes or Kobe's. Just give me the number of, is it the Kobe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever.
I have no idea, and I'll have to start preparing because I feel like you ask it each time. But I'm like,
I do.
I am not a like sneakerhead by any sense. I can't even tell you, like, I can maybe tell you a couple names of Kobe's different shoes, but I'm not like a Kobe shoe guy.
It was the Kobe 4. So, and also in the 2009 finals, he had like a very special edition of the Kobe 4.
Yeah.
And because the Kobe 4 and the Kobe 5 look similar, especially because he got Laker colorways. And he got the Laker colorways to his, his shoe. Shit, he's going to do make it to my specs, my colorways. And the colorways that were available to the public weren't always the colorways that Kobe played with.
Mm-hmm.
So these were a nice shoe. And I just love seeing shoes in Laker colors. They look so good. Man.
Yeah.
Any shoe that's like black, with a little purple, little gold on it. It's phenomenal. So not bad. Very, very good. Very, very good.
So shout out a couple former Lakers who also played in this game. I mean, we talked about it earlier. Powell, Lamar, and Luke were all huge this game.
Huge.
They didn't flinch on the road in a big game and made huge contributions. I mean, the announcers, I think Mark Jackson in particular, is basically drooling over Powell in the second half, for like doing a little bit of everything.
Definitely drooling over Shannon Brown. I mean, geez.
Yes, they were.
I was like, okay, Mark, you mentioned it twice. Like, we get it. He's played 6 minutes.
Yeah, right.
No, I mean, Powell looked, and if you want, look at a picture of 2008 Powell, and then look at this Powell. Powell came to play. He was ready.
Yep. Yeah. So, and Powell looked great. He had those gorgeous locks flowing. Love 2009 Pau Gasol.
Great hair.
And then, like I said, shout out to Josh Powell, just hyping everybody on the bench. Anyway, I just mentioned him a second ago too. Soon Yue looking good in his sports jacket. So, he brought it.
Yeah, shout out to the machine, coming in and hitting the shot, being pesty, and then screwing up and then getting pulled.
Right.
Typical Sasha.
Yeah.
And this was one of my favorite little Laker teams. These 2009-10 championship teams. It's just it meant a lot to me as a fan. Just watching the fall of Kobe and then the rise. Yeah. And this was just before they got a title, and it just felt good to see this Laker team like earn their stripes and get back to where Kobe felt like it deserved. And because it was tough going from a team that didn't look like they were ever going to lose to then having Kobe, Chris Mim, and you're like Luke Walton. You're like, man, like what happened?
I know.
And to fight back, to get Powell. Thank you, Jerry West. Appreciate it. Much love.
Yeah.
And this was a fun team to watch. And special shout outs to Ariza continually.
God.
That is something that we'll be, we're very thankful for the next championship, and thankful for Meta, because even that was a cool career. I'm very thankful for Meta's career as a Laker too. That was a lot of fun, and those final moments in his career were cool. When
he got to come
Meta.
back. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
But for what we were talking about, for building championships, and Ariza would have been a clutch for damn sure. But
you're
here we are.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't complain. We've had literally 2 titles since then. So
yeah,
that's
that's true.
You know, some franchises never get any. So here we are. First world problems. First world NBA problems.
Yeah.
You know, we could have had 17. We could have actually had 18.
Yeah.
Well, if Celtics fans definitely want to disagree with that, but
right.
I just want to say I don't give a crap.
Right.
Don't give a crap.
Yeah, well, I definitely don't, considering I've claimed the Lakers from Dallas my whole life, so no, everyone gives me crap for that.
I mean, like the NBA claims them. Guess what? I'm gonna claim them too. And like, yeah, it's kind of silly we don't have any of their retired numbers, but you know, that's not my decision. I don't work for the Lakers. I just root for them.
Yeah, right. Cool. Well, I think that's gonna wrap it up for episode 3 of Bean. The great series, great game by Kobe Bryant, one of my all-time favorites. So hopefully, like I talked about at the beginning, I think not that we'll do it next, but we could definitely revisit game 3 of this series as another Kobe masterpiece.
Oh man, yeah. We can pick any one of these Kobe games from this series, or even the next series. There's a few games in that one where he was just phenomenal. And clearly, if we ever want to do a podcast on Derek Fisher, the next series is the one to do. Yeah. You know, he saved their buzz in that game. But yeah, this was a great game to watch. Kobe was just masterful in this game.
Indeed, as usual. All right, cool. Thanks, Brandon, and we'll catch you next time for episode 4, which is TBD on what game, but we'll get it figured out soon.
In a month. See you guys soon.
Yeah, see it.